Lucky Rice has been a long time dream of mine. I've always wanted to find a platform where I could share stories about Asian culture with a broader audience. I think it was driven by a desire to create a platform where all of these diverse chefs could come together and collaborate through the lens of food, learn more about each other's cuisines and cultures. And so we started in New York because that's where I live, and created events like night markets as well as smaller scale events, but each of which were designed to break down boundaries as an appetizing universal lens through which everybody can understand something about history, culture, geography, people. I was a former professor of art history. That was my first career, and I worked in the art world. And so it's really a pleasure for me to be back in such a great institution, surrounded by amazing works of art. So this is a piece by a Chinese artist, Liang, who was born in 1953 in Taiwan. It's in the permanent collection here at the San Francisco Asian Art Museum. It's called Tofu Palette. Personally, I just love the pun and the humor behind what Liang's doing with this trompe-l'oeil style, tricking the eye and using sculpture to mimic what would look like a platter of tofu. And more, I think artists are beginning to use food as a medium. So my cookbook is a further exploration along the lines of the festival. It was driven by all the experiences and wonderful food that I've had a chance to taste. So the book contains 100 different recipes inspired by dishes that I thought put their thumbprint on why Asian cuisine has gained so much steam and popularity in recent years. You know, what I wanted to do with this book was to create something that was completely different from your typical Asian cookbook. I thought that there are so many misconceptions rather, of Asian food that I wanted to shatter. That Asian food is foreign and exotic and unpalatable. That Asian food is cheap and laden with MSG. That fusion food is not authentic food and thus it's not good food. So for instance, in the book, we'll have dishes like kimchi, although it's a very, very old dish, very traditional dish. I think that it makes perfect sense to include that dish in the cookbook because kimchi is a lens to learn about Korean history, and also it's something that has all of a sudden become kind of resonant of our pop culture and fascination in Asian food and fermentation and all of these other foodie trends. I'm going to show you a pretty traditional kimchi recipe that's really quick. It's really about assembling. But in the book, there's lots of applications for kimchi. So I've asked Sylvia here to kind of pre-chop a head of cabbage and then to soak it in some warm water with about a cup of salt for about an hour. What that does is it draws out all the water in the cabbage. So this huge head of lettuce is actually diminished to just a couple of handfuls of salted cabbage. First, what I do is I make the Gochujang chili paste. And to do that, I've added a little bit of rice, glutinous rice flour, which is like the sticky mochi flour that you might use for a lot of your cooking, with some water. And so into this, I make the Gochujang chili paste, which for those of you that are familiar with Korean cuisine is the very foundation of Korean cuisine. It comprises of this very scary looking red chili pepper that's not nearly as spicy as it looks. So I'm basically adding chopped scallions. You can add leeks if you'd like. I use both the white and the green parts. Some julienne carrots, I just quarter these and then I throw it in, along with onions. It's kind of like an urban myth, or perhaps it's true, that the first thing a daughter-in-law inherits when she marries into a Korean family is their ancient kimchi recipe. And it's told that some Korean wives make so much kimchi and are so good at it that they can taste the kimchi by how it feels. So I'm definitely using my hands. And so you just kind of give it a little mix, and you want to caress all of the chili and goodness into every little crevice of the cabbage. So the book contains 100 different recipes. They're all created in my kitchen, but inspired by dishes that I thought kind of put their thumbprint on why Asian cuisine has gained so much steam and popularity in recent years.